Hey YouTube! In this video, I'll be continuing the mystery box challenge. So if you're new to my channel and you don't know what that is yet, essentially I bought a box of mystery fabric for $30, but it was hundreds of dollars worth of fabric. The catch was I didn't get to choose any of it. The challenge is that I'm taking each and every piece of fabric that I got in the box and I'm making sure to use all of it, at least once. So this is the fabric I'll be working with. We have this is very much my style, navy blue, another bullet, and this is the dress that I made. So I decided to use my navy blue fabric to make a peplum dress because somebody ordered a peplum dress from me and I had not made one of these in over a year. So I really wanted to get some practice making one for myself. Alright, so remember that if you like what you see on my channel, don't forget to press like, don't forget to subscribe, and if you know somebody else who might like it, don't forget to share. Alright, enjoy the tutorial. In order to make our peplum dress, we need our fabric. This is a stretchy navy blue bullet fabric, and we need a couple of items to use as our pattern. So I like to use everyday items that I already have as my pattern. So today for this dress, I'm just going to be using a regular tank top, super crushed, and a regular pencil skirt that I've previously made. Alright, so right now my fabric is folded into a half and it stretches in this direction, as you can see here. We want to make sure it's going to stretch across the body. In order to get our dress to be symmetric, I like to fold not just in half, but fold in a quarter. So I'm going to go ahead and fold in a half again. However, I'm limited to the amount of fabric that I have. So I'm only going to fold it as much as I need it because I'm going to save the edges so that I can use that as my sleeves. Alright, so here we have our fabric, which was originally folded in half, and then I took it and I folded it again. So this is 4 layers of fabric right here. I'm going to take our first thing, which is our tank top, and I'm going to also fold that in half. And I'm going to lay the fold of the tank top along the fold of the fabric. Alright, so I've taken my shirt and I've placed the fold of the shirt along the fold of the fabric, and I pinned the outline of the shirt, and I folded the shirt at the cutoff point where I wanted to stop. Now at the top, we're actually going to be making an off-the-shoulder shirt, or the top of our dress will be off the shoulder. So I am going to go ahead and cut in the shape here so that I can make the sleeves coming off there. And that is going to make sense as we continue, but basically the top of that shirt line will be the top of our dress going straight across. Okay, so here we have the top part of our dress, but as you can see, there are 4 layers pinned together. In order to open this up, because obviously we cannot sew 4 layers together, in order to open this up, we want to go ahead and unpin and grab 2 layers and repin just the top 2 layers. And also go ahead and pin the 2 bottom layers together. Now we can go ahead and keep doing that throughout, just unpinning and repinning until everything is opened up here. Alright, so now we're ready to sew up the seams of the side of the top part of our dress. Alright, so I'm doing everything I can to be able to preserve on fabric here. And so I was going to make the dress a little bit longer. I decided to make it a little bit shorter. So I folded my skirt the length that I want my dress to be. Alright, and so hopefully we have just enough fabric to make the peplum part of the dress as well. Notice there's some fabric over there. Again, that's being reserved for the sleeves. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pin and then we'll cut. Alright, so here's where the math teacher in me gets a little bit excited just for a moment. The peplum part of our dress is actually 2 concentric circles. What does that mean? A circle inside another circle. So one circle is actually for the waistline and the other circle is for the hem of the peplum part of the dress. So here's a little math break so you can understand where I'm going to get the next few measurements from. Let's take a quick math break to understand how to find the measurements to make the peplum part of your dress. If you understand the math here, you'll be able to apply it to tons of different types of garments. If you don't understand the math, not to worry. You'll still know how to get the measurements you need. Take the measurement of the front of the waist of your skirt lying flat. Mine is 14 inches. The circumference of the waistline should be twice that. 14 times 2 equals 28. Imagine you're looking at the open skirt from above. The circumference is the distance going around the waist. To make this circle, we need its radius. We can use the old faithful formula to get this measurement. 2 times 3.14 times radius is approximately equal to the circumference. 2 times 3.14 times our first radius is equal to 28. 6.28 times this radius is 28. To figure out the radius, divide 28 by 6.28. If this is more math than you'd like to do, just divide the waist measurement by 6.28 to get the radius. Yes, this will always work. Just divide by 6.28. The waist radius for my dress is approximately 4.5 inches. The peplum section of our dress is like a mini circle skirt over our pencil skirt. I'd like mine to be 8.5 inches long, including the hem. To create it, we need another, bigger circle around the first, smaller circle. The length of the peplum goes here. So to find our second radius, we just add the first radius to the peplum length, 4.5 inches plus 8.5 inches. Our larger circle has a radius of 13 inches. Okay, math break over. Let's get back to work. Alright, so here's basically what we have left of the fabric other than some straps that I saved in order to make our sleeves. So this is 30 inches wide and 26 inches high. I think we only need 26 by 26, but I just didn't cut it yet. And so it's a single layer of fabric, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fold it in half. Alright, and now we're going to fold it in half again. But instead of what we've been doing, folding it in half in the same direction, we're going to go ahead and fold it in half to form something like a square. Alright, so you know you folded this properly if when you look at the corner here, you see the fold of the fabric going this way and that way. There are no raw edges at this corner. Alright, so now with the measurements that we got with the calculations that we just did, we now know that our radius, or small radius, should be 4.5 and our larger radius should be 13. I would have preferred to have it a little bit bigger than 13, but that is all the fabric will allow for. So we're going to go ahead and measure out that radius in order to make our concentric circles. So 4.5. And so I just put the tape measure here. Some people use chalk and then use the chalk and draw around. I am a huge fan of pinning, and it doesn't matter which one you do as long as you're going to get a radius of 4.5 inches the whole way around here. Okay, so I went ahead and pinned my 4.5 inches here, going along here, and my 13 inches going that way. And so now I'm going to go ahead and cut out this section, which is where the waist will go. And it's going to be a circle. Right now it's a quarter circle, but it's folded in 4. It's going to be a circle when I cut it out. And then I'm going to cut off this part, and this will be where the hem of the peplum dress will be, the peplum part of the dress. Alright, so these are our 2 circles that we just cut out, and when we put it against the dress, this is how it will fall. Alright, so here's a super rough draft of what we have so far. This is the peplum part of the dress, this is the skirt part of the dress, and this is the shirt part of the dress. We still do need to make our sleeves, but I am going to connect what we have so far together first. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and mark out the very side of our peplum part of the dress. And so I already did that. I have a pin on the right side and a pin on the left side. I'm going to fold it in half. And the reason I'm doing this is because when I pin this to the other parts of the dress, I want to make sure that everything lines up perfectly. So I'm going to pin the front and the back of the peplum part as well, just to mark out, to let me know that those are those extreme parts, the left, the right, the front, and the back. Alright, so I did something similar for the skirt. I put a pin at the front and the back to mark those points. We don't need a pin at the left and the right because we already have the seam there. And I did the same thing for the shirt part of our dress. I put a pin at the front and the back, but we don't need pins at the left and the right because we have our seams. For the peplum part, I do have a pin at the front, the back, the left, the right. Okay, so in order to put everything together, our skirt should be on the wrong side. Our peplum part of our dress should also be on the wrong side, but the shirt should be on the right side. All right, so now that we have everything on the side that it should be, I'm going to go ahead and stick the peplum part of our dress inside the skirt. So everything should line up very similar to the way the skirt lines up. Because if you recall, a peplum is kind of like a little mini skirt on top of the skirt. It should be facing the same way, it should be lined up in the same way. So I'm sticking it in here. All right, so everything is facing the same direction. It's not right side versus right side. Everything is facing exactly the same direction. So I'm going to position it in a temporary way and lie it down. All right, so now our peplum part of our dress is inside the skirt, approximately the way it would look if this were a garment that was inside out. Now we take our shirt, and this is where things get really exciting, and we have to now stick it in upside down. So it's right side out and upside down into everything that we already have here. So we have 3 layers of fabric that we're putting together. All right, so I've tidied things up a little bit here, and as you can see, there's a bunch of pins in the front, there's a bunch of pins in the back. And so hopefully it makes a little bit more sense now why I went ahead and pinned the front, the left, the right, and the back. So now, with that said, let's talk about each of these layers. So on the outside, I have the skirt part, which is inside out. In the middle, I have the peplum part, which is also inside out and facing the same direction as the skirt. And on the inside, I have the shirt, which is right side out and also upside down. All right, so then I went ahead and I pinned the front, the back, the left, and the right. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure everything is lined up as well as I can line them up, and pin a little bit more throughout so that I can take it to the sewing machine. All right, so our 3 layers are properly pinned together, and now we can sew them together. You want to make sure that it's on the zigzag stitch because you will be stretching across that stitch because it's at the waistline. All right. Okay, so to create our sleeve, we need 3 measurements. We need the circumference of our upper arm, where the off the shoulder is going to sit. We also need the circumference of our forearm, which is where I want my sleeve to end. And we need the length from the upper arm to the forearm, which for me is 12 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and start by measuring out my 12 inches on the fold. I'm just going to use a pin to hold that spot. All right, so my upper arm measurement, the circumference is 13 inches. I'm going to half that and I get 6.5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and pin my 6.5 inches here. And so that's the upper arm of the sleeve, or the upper part of the sleeve. And from the lower part of the sleeve, I'm going to half 8 inches. So the circumference of my forearm is 8 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and measure 4 inches and pin. And to get a straight line from the forearm pin to the upper arm pin, I'm just going to take my tape measure and angle it that it goes from one pin to the next. And then I'm going to pin a couple of other places to mark out that shape. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and use that sleeve to trace out the shape of the second sleeve. All right, so let's now sew the seam for a sleeve. All right, so I have my dress here, and underneath I have the sleeve. And what I've done, I've turned both on the right side out, and I have the top of my sleeve lined up with the top of the dress, the seam of the sleeve lined up with the seam of the dress. And now I'm going to go ahead and cut that shape out so that my sleeve and my dress can line up together well. All right, and I did the same thing for the other sleeve. All right, so now that we have our sleeve cut out and in the correct shape, I'm going to go ahead and put the right side of the sleeve against the right side of the dress, and I'm going to start with the seams. So this is right underneath the arm, and I'm going to go ahead and pin them together. All right, now that we've pinned our sleeve to our dress, it's time to sew it on. So I went ahead and pinned the hem of the dress. I folded it twice. I also pinned the hem of the peplum and the top of the shirt. So all the hems are pinned and it's ready to go.